Alright, driverless cars. Let's take a look and see what we've got. So it's this kind of combination that's quite common if you've done a lot of these readings before. They've got the summary, and then they like to have this pretty difficult question type, the finding information, and then it's kind of a multiple choice where you find two. It's a very common combination of question types, and we've done quite a lot of them before, and there's some definite strategy that you must follow. Right, so the first thing is, of course, we're going to start with the summary. Then we'll probably go to this, do as many of them as we can, and then just go and take a look at these and see if we can find anything easy here, and then we'll sort of go between this one and this one just for those last few. But of course we start with a summary. That's the gap fill. Gap fills are easier, and we want to first of all find where the summary comes from. So what have we got? Transport, research, laboratory. We're looking for some scanning words here. There, maybe 43%. Anything else? No. Okay, so transport, research, laboratory, University of Michigan, transportation research. And then you're just going to scan. No. But I do see transport research laboratory over here. Keep on going though, because you want to see where the Michigan one was. No. This is a bit strange, because I would have expected it to all sort of be in there. We see that it is divided into two paragraphs, and take note of that. But maybe they've split it up, which is kind of unusual, but they can do it if they want to do it. Massachusetts, no, that's not what we're looking for. And finally we find University of Michigan over here. And then immediately I also see the 43% over there. So that's interesting. That means if I look here, other changes, so this means they've sort of changing the subject. So this paragraph is not continuing on from this paragraph. So that means that this is probably over here. That little paragraph is just over there. So that's where I would start and then go back and look for those, because it's quite possible that this could be from all of this. It could be all the way up to there. We don't know yet. But let me just go and see if I can find these two, because they're going to be in here. Right. There could be a 43% drop in something of cars, however. So there could be this you can just totally ignore. There could be a drop. I want to find drop and what drops in something of cars. Right, drop is probably the key word there. And it means go down, decrease, or reduce. So automated vehicles might reduce for vehicle ownership by 43%. So there's the drop. What drops? The vehicle ownership drops. So I think that's quite clear, except they have made it difficult. This is nasty of them. Vehicle ownership drops. And actually then I went and I said, okay, 2 words, so I can put in vehicle ownership. Turns out, if you look at the answers, it's down here, it's only ownership. And why is that? Because they've put of cars, so that's the vehicle over there. So you can't say vehicle ownership of cars because it's unnecessary repetition. This is the noun phrase 1, noun phrase 2 that we use in our task ones. Car ownership, ownership of cars. Vehicle ownership, ownership of vehicles. Vehicle and car is just synonyms over here. So unfortunately, I would have gotten that one wrong because I checked. Okay, it's 2 words, no problem. And then I didn't really check this. So I wrote vehicle ownership and I got it wrong. So I don't think that that's such a great thing of IELTS to do. I don't like it when they do some tricky little things like that, because it seems to me like they're trying to trick you and trying to make you fail instead of just testing your language ability. So yeah, I don't know what to say. It's not fair, but don't worry if you got it wrong, because actually I got it wrong too. However, let's find a however that often comes up. This means that the yearly is a nice word, of each car would be twice as high as it currently is. So there's some three good things there. However, yearly, and twice. Let's see if we can find something like that. But there's a however there. Annual is yearly, and double as a result. So all three of them are right there. There's the however. Yearly, annual, mileage would double. So the mileage would be twice. Annual, yearly. That's a very common synonym that IELTS loves to switch between annual and yearly. They love that. So make sure you know that. What would double? What the annual what? And it's quite clear. I think you should be able to get that one. That's the big clue, annual. Right. So under normal circumstances, that would be quite fast if we didn't get tricked over there, and we would have 2 in the bag fairly quickly. Now we need to go and see exactly where they take all of this from. But we've got some linking language over here. That might help us. Remember, the linking language often gives us structure. There's in addition over there. I'll make the linking language pink, and a for example is also linking language. That might help us. Motor accidents. Let's see if we can find accidents. They could paraphrase it, but it's not many paraphrases. Most accidents are due to. This might be right at the top. Has demonstrated that more than 90% of road collisions is accidents, more than 90% is most, involve human error as a contributory factor. Okay, that's a difficult way of saying due to. the human error contributes to the road collision. So the human error causes the road collisions, so the road collisions are due to the human error. Slightly difficult English, but I think you could find it. It's right there. Human error is the due to. It's the cause. It's a cause solution language, cause effect language. So let's maybe just check. Yeah. Not too bad. And of course, check that you can have 2 words, but we already knew that. Okay, not so bad. So the introduction of drivers will result in greater safety. In addition to direct benefits, it may bring other advantages. You see, now this is where I'm a bit worried that they're going to start skipping paragraphs. Automation may reduce the incidence of this. Primary, vast majority, that's the most as well. Another aim beyond these direct benefits, Massachusetts, beyond these direct benefits. Didn't they say something about that? In addition to the direct benefits, it may bring other advantages, for example. So I think that's close enough. Beyond these direct benefits, in addition to these direct benefits, other advantages as a result, blah, 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 blah. For example, so let's look at what they want in their example. For example, schemes for something will be more workable, especially in towns and cities, resulting in fewer cars on the road. I'm just going to find towns and cities because that's familiar language. Especially in towns and cities, in car sharing, particularly in, and there we go, urban areas is the towns and cities. Particularly in urban areas is especially in towns and cities. So what happens especially in towns and cities? What do we want over here? Schemes for something will be more workable. Any kind of language that's similar to that. Where were we? Particularly in urban areas. And quite simple to find. If you found urban areas, schemes, initiatives for car sharing will become much more viable, more workable. Viable means workable, easier to do. So initiatives for car sharing become much more viable. I think if you found urban areas, then you can find that. Initiatives for car sharing, schemes for car sharing. Even if you didn't know what initiatives and schemes were, you could kind of find the structure. The for gave you a good clue there. It's a sort of noun phrase to structure. Car sharing. All right. I don't think that was actually so bad. I think you could get those four fairly quickly. There were two tricks. One is this one, which caught me out. I don't like that one, but there you go. And the second one was that this didn't follow the paragraph. That was from paragraph there, and then they skipped that, and then they took the next half of it from the next half of this paragraph came from a new paragraph. So it should actually, if they were being fair, it should actually look like that. So just be aware that IELTS can do that with these summaries. They can play around with the paragraphs a little bit. They don't usually, to be honest. Usually, if this is one paragraph, then it'll come from B or D or C, a whole paragraph, and then this will be another paragraph. But as we can see right here, sometimes they just try and mess us around and try and trick us. Okay, so we're going to move on to this now. So the first thing that we do here, as you will have seen before, is that sometimes in one of these there is something that we have read about in this summary. So it's a good idea to, when you're going through it, just read it quite carefully, because the fact that IELTS has put this information, all of this information here, they've made a summary. That means they've only taken the important information. So this is all important information. So it might be a good idea to quickly read it. Figures from that indicate that most accidents due to human error, driverless vehicles, greater safety. In addition, other advantages such as car sharing, towns and cities, fewer cars on the road. This sort of thing you can just ignore. 43% drop in ownership, however, yearly mileage would be twice. This would lead to higher turnover of vehicles, therefore no reduction in automotive manufacturing. It's good information, all of that. Let's see if we can find anything similar to that. Amount of time when a car is not in use? No. Several advantages of driverless vehicles for individual road users. Yes, we're talking about advantages over here. There's benefits, advantages. Advantages is over there. So let's look into that. Several advantages of driverless vehicles. Where are we dealing with all of the advantages? It's not A. Reasons why, another aim. So there's not an aim. That's not, I don't know if that's an advantage. But yes, I think it can be an advantage. It's kind of it's not very direct, but an aim, if you achieve your aim, you achieve an advantage. So it could be over here, and the wider implications, average car, you've got to do a bit of detailed reading here. Automation, so these are advantages, but there's also advantages over here. Relax, this person can relax while they're driving, while the thing is driving, and then older or disabled people can enjoy greater autonomy. So there's advantages over there. So let's just go back to the question. Both of those paragraphs have advantages. Several advantages for individual road users. That might be a bit interesting. Individual road users. See, here they're talking about the people in the car can socialize or relax while the car is driving itself. And then this is also individuals, older or disabled travelers. But this paragraph, the C, is talking about the wider implications. That's about society or something. A significant proportion of the population. So this is wider. This is not individual. So I would go with this one over here. Those are the advantages. And we got that because we knew from here that we were talking about advantages. It's just a question of whether it was B or C. And individual road users gave us the answer B. Great. Reference to the opportunity of choosing the most appropriate vehicle for each trip? No. How long it will take to overcome a number of problems? No. But I just want to point out how long it will take to overcome these problems. That is talking about the future, and it's the overall essay structure that you see very often, some kind of an introduction, and then they state all of the problems, or in this case actually they state advantages of the driverless cars. Then they talk about the problems, hurdles to overcome, and then they talk about the future. And that's often a very common thing, is the last paragraph or 2 paragraphs they talk about the future. So when I was doing this, I actually went straight to that, just to check if it's there, because it's the kind of thing that they will definitely put in the last paragraph, how long it will take in the future to overcome these problems. And actually, yes, I saw it immediately over there. Can probably be conquered within the next 10 years. So I'm going to put that answer in there because I did find it immediately. And the reason I found it immediately, it's quite a common strategy that you should remember, which is that when they're talking about the future of this topic, very often it's in the last paragraph or last 2 paragraphs. And a suggestion: driverless vehicles, no effect on the number of vehicles manufactured. Let's leave that for now, but I did see something about that. Just remember, when you're reading in detail, try and remember stuff. I did see far fewer vehicles over there, so maybe I'll come back to that later. Right, now, so that's kind of a time for pause. You've done these ones, which should be fairly doable. Then you've gone to see if you can get 1 or 2 easy ones out of these. Now we've got a problem. 1, 2, and 3. These 3 are going to be very difficult to find. Just remember, with this question type, 1 or 2 of them are going to be very difficult. And you need to identify those 1 or 2 and don't let them eat your time. Rather see if you can go on to some other things, find some other easy marks first before you try and tackle these 1 or 2 difficult ones. So we've actually identified that somewhere in these 3 are some very difficult ones. So I just want to quickly go on and look at these 2 questions and see if there's anything easy for me to do. And this is a good strategy, especially for this combination, this summary, finding information, and multiple choice where you find 2, is you do this one first, then you kind of bounce between this one and you see if there's any overlap between those, get a couple, and then you move back and forth between this one and this one and try and leave the most difficult things for last. So what have we got over here? 2 benefits of automated vehicles does the writer mention. Now immediately that's actually quite friendly of IELTS, because we already know where the benefits are. The benefits are over here, these advantages, benefits. So we have done a lot of work on this already. We've done a lot of work with paragraphs B and C. So it's most likely that the benefits are going to be there. We can look at that, but this is just all introduction. Take a look at that. Other changes, that's the important thing over there. What are the other changes? This is, I don't know if it's benefits, but it's just changes. And then hurdles to overcome. So this is challenges or problems. And then this is conclusion. So we are talking about benefits in these 2 paragraphs over here. So what are the benefits that they mention? Do we remember any of them? Car travelers enjoy cost savings. I don't remember that. actually I want to make it yellow. Find parking spaces in urban areas. Doing something other than driving. Driving physically difficult. People who find driving physically difficult could be more independent. Reduction in the number of cars, reduction in pollution. And I do actually remember this physically difficult and doing something other than driving, because we looked at it in this paragraph. So they've actually been quite kind to us here, even though they were very nasty in one or two other things, because they've used this piece of text a lot. We've gotten this one from that, and then they've gone back and used it again, because they say the driver can socialize or simply relax while the car is driving. And then this is the thing that gave me the clue about this, is the physically difficult, the older or disabled travelers, they find it physically difficult. And there's the word autonomy, and I remember the word independence, and those are synonyms. So doing something other than driving, and there's autonomy, independence, physically difficult. So definitely C and D, I would feel quite confident about those two. If you're confused, then all you need to go back and read those, and you'll see that that's what is there. So that was actually quite nice of them, because we didn't have to go. Very often the problem with these question types is you just have to search and search and search and search, where did they take it from. But this benefits actually helped us a lot. So C and D are my two answers there. Right, what else have we got? 2 challenges does the writer mention. Now, I remember challenges over here. There are a number of hurdles to overcome. They've tried to trick you over there. It's clear that there are many challenges, but then there's a but. So this is not actually about the challenges. This is about what comes after the but. This paragraph is from the challenges. So when you're doing these, very often it's a good idea to just check what the topic of the question is, and then just go and look at the first sentence of every paragraph and see if you can quite easily find the topic of the paragraph and match the topic of the paragraph with the topic of the question. Doesn't always happen like that, but like I say, these are often very difficult to find. So if you can find an easy way, try it first. Right, so here is the challenges. These include technical difficulties, blah, 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 blah. Notice the semicolon. Regulatory challenges, semicolon, and societal changes. So they've mentioned 3 types of challenge, of societal changes. 3 types of challenge. So this is a list paragraph using semicolons. You can maybe use that in your task 2. Notice that this is actually one huge list sentence separated by semicolons and over there, that's the structure, and that's useful for task 2, the list sentence. I'm actually just going to highlight the structural elements of this, just so that you can see the structure of the list sentence, and maybe use it. I guess we would say these include, and then a full stop over there. Those are the structural elements of this list sentence, and it's a good thing to do if you can do it in your task 2. Anyway, so we're going to find 2 of these: technical, regulatory, and societal. You need to do a little bit of detailed reading over here. The vehicle works reliably. You want to see what each one of these is. I'm not going to read it too much now. I want to move on. General public confidence, that might be the societal, general public, society. Pace of transition from conventional, I don't know. Compensate professional drivers, I didn't see it. Infrastructure maybe is the technical thing, and automated vehicles to adapt to various different driving conditions. So I'll leave you to read and figure out what it is. I'll just tell you exactly. That one, getting the vehicles to adapt to the various different driving conditions, is over here. An infinite range of traffic, weather, and road situations. The vehicle must adapt to these different driving conditions. I thought it might be the infrastructure thing, because that's also technical, but we're talking about the vehicle, not the infrastructure. Notice they say the vehicle. So that one is E, definitely. And this general public is the other one, the societal changes. General public, what do they say about general public? Has confidence in automated vehicles. Trust and accept is the confidence. Right. So actually, it's slightly unusual. These two questions weren't so bad in this case. It was possible to get these. So very often, the most common situation is that two of them are easy to find, and then two of them are like impossible to find. But in this case, it wasn't so bad, because the keywords were in here, and we could go and find those paragraphs, benefits and challenges or hurdles. Now we have to just see if we can find these last ones. And of course, remember the first strategy that you're going to do when you're trying to find these last ones. Remember, these are the most difficult ones in the whole passage. So the first thing you're going to try and do is just look at what paragraphs we've used and what paragraphs we haven't used. So we haven't used A, we've used B, we used C, we haven't used, yes, we used D in the summary. We haven't used E, we've used F, and we've used G. G was this 10 years over here. So the first thing that you're going to do is start with A and E, because we haven't used those at all. And 99% of the time, two of these will be in A and E. As it turns out, IELTS has been very nasty over here. They haven't used A at all, but you would have had to read A anyway. So at this stage, you're going to go and read A. You're going to be looking for amount of time when a car is not in use, opportunity of choosing most appropriate vehicle for each trip, and driverless cars may have no effect on number of vehicles manufactured. And you're going to read A and E and see if you can find any one of those three. IELTS has been quite nasty here, and they haven't used A at all. So also just remember, at this stage you're running out of time. You've got your eye on the clock. We've got to move on to passage 3, so don't be afraid to guess at this stage. So this one wasn't too difficult to find. Opportunity of choosing the most appropriate vehicle for each trip. That actually was in E. Opportunity, freedom to select, choose most appropriate vehicle for each trip. Each trip is a particular journey. So E was over there, not too bad. And now you're really watching the clock. And actually, if I were doing this test and now time is finished, I would just go A and just move on. As it turns out, in this case, that wouldn't help us at all, but most of the time that strategy would give you at least one of them. Time when a car is not in use, and number of vehicles manufactured. I do remember number of vehicles manufactured, no effect. I remember we didn't really use this first half of D, so when you're looking at the A and E, maybe it would have been a good idea to also look at this first half of D, because we didn't use that at all. And this one is actually very difficult. They say here, the question says no effect. Driverless cars may have no effect. The vague suggestion is no effect. But then over here they say maybe because of driverless cars we might have to manufacture fewer vehicles, which means yes, it will have an effect. But then they go on to say, however, the number of trips would increase, and that probably means we would have to have more cars, I think, or something like that. It's super confusing what they're trying to say over here. I think they're saying that this is balanced out by this, and so the net effect is that there would be no effect. This would mean less cars, this would mean more cars, and therefore the result is no effect. But really super difficult, that one. Don't worry if you don't want to be sitting there and trying to figure out what's going on. It's just wasting your time just for one mark. And then reference to the amount of time when a car is not in use. Really, what I would do here is, you're running out of time, I would guess this one and move on. Because how do we find this one? I haven't seen it anywhere. I can't remember seeing it anywhere. So that means I've got to just start reading the whole thing, and I've got to just look for a reference to an amount of time where a car is not in use. It's possible it might be down here, and then I've read through the whole thing. It's going to take me 5 minutes to find this one. I would just really guess that one and move on, because that's a lot of time just to find one mark. So as it turns out, reference to the amount of time when a car is not in use, turns out it's in paragraph C, it's over here. Average car spends more than 90% of its life parked. Parked means not in use. But really that would have been very difficult to find unless you had seen it before. So I would have probably just skipped it. Don't worry about it. Don't let that one eat too much of your time. Great, let's move on to passage 3.